How do you communicate your value as an executive or an entrepreneur? How do you communicate your value to your team or to the marketplace? Hi, I'm Michael Ceely. I'm a high performance coach for executives, entrepreneurs, and athletes. And today we're talking about value, specifically how you can bring people's attention to the fact that you have a lot of value to add. In this video, I want to give you two ways to add value, an actionable way that you can add value. Number one, we're going to start with an executive situation. Number two, as an entrepreneur or business owner, how you can bring the attention to your value. Okay, first let's start with the executive example. If you are a C-suite executive, you know that you have a lot of value to bring to your team, to your company, but how do you communicate that? This is what we want to get to today. So the way you communicate things is you think about an attitudinal shift for yourself. You're not simply bringing value for yourself or speaking up for yourself, but you're thinking about synergy. And I know this is a bit of a cliche word, but it really is apropos here. So if you think about not speaking up and not bringing your value and your opinions to the attention of the company that you work for, what you're doing essentially is you are robbing or hoarding your opinion, and there's no synergy going on there. The value of speaking up and saying, hey, my opinion or my idea is valuable here, it can really help the company. The value of doing that is that you're going to be helping the company. You're not just going to be advocating for yourself. So that attitudinal shift is really important as an executive to be thinking about this word synergy, which again is a cliche, but it's really true, that if you don't speak up, there's no synergistic energy going on there. You're not actually combining forces with other people. People may shoot down your opinion. That's all right. Maybe you're not making the top executive decision, but you at least have to speak up. You're at this company for a reason. You were hired for a reason. It's because of the value that you bring to the company. So that you need to speak up a lot more often than you are already. The worst that could happen is you might ruffle someone's feathers, and that's okay. But you were hired for a reason, and I really want to emphasize this point, is that you need to advocate for the value that you bring. People may not always solicit it from you. You need to actually go out there and advertise that so that you can win and the company can win. Okay, our second case example here is for business owners and entrepreneurs of how do you let people know what the value of your product or service is. Obviously, this is done often through advertising and marketing. However, there comes a point when you need to, in your own network, or when you're talking with a customer on a customer call or getting a new client, is to be much more forward about the value that you bring. It doesn't mean you're being pushy or bragging, but you want to play around more with that edge of actually being a little pushy because that you have value to bring. And so it's not to get the sale, but it is to let people know, let a potential customer know what the value of your product or service is. And if you don't brag a little bit about it, they're not going to know. They're not going to know all the value that they're getting from your product or service. So you really need to get clear on what that is. And I would suggest, if you haven't done this already, is literally write down a bullet pointed list of all the value of your product or service. And to just be exhaustive about it and just get it out there, because I'm guessing you haven't done this already. Okay, most people haven't, but you need to be thinking about what are all the valuable points, what are all the things that I bring to the table here, and articulate that and get really clear on that. And then on your next discovery call or your next proposition or meeting with a potential client, you're going to be really clear on what these valuable points are. But if you don't speak up, don't assume that your potential client or customer knows all the value that you bring. Okay, that's it for today's video. Pretty quick, just simply the concept of value and understanding the fact that you need to advocate for your own value that you bring to the world, either as an executive or an entrepreneur or business owner. There's different methods to do that, but don't assume that other people are going to ask you questions about your value, and don't assume that they're going to understand what the value is. You need to advocate for yourself And it's not in a bragging way or egotistical way. It's in a way that brings more value to the world. But that's your job to let people know.